Yeah, we were excited. We've wanted to create some space for entrepreneurs, business startups, like-minded people that would collaborate and create together. And we've wanted to do it for a while, but innovation shuts down, like creativity. I mean, your brain physically shuts down when worry, anxiety, fear come in. Chemicals go off and you will not come up with ideas that you haven't thought of. You will repeat a cycle. But if you can deal with the fear and learn like you actually have something good, I don't think there's any limit to what happens at that point.
Welcome back to the Level Up podcast. Today we're joined by Chris Abington, and then there's a whole host of titles I could associate with you. What's your favorite
one? Dad's a pretty awesome one. I like being called that for my kids. So
yeah, awesome. Well, just for everyone else listening too, you own Raleigh Realty. Did you start that company, by the way?
No, we bought that. It's been a little over 10 years ago, my wife Tara and I, and it was a whole adventure. Our family owned a real estate company, so I was around it all growing up. I always swore I wasn't going to do that, and I certainly wasn't going to own a company. And lo and behold, get my license while I'm at Arkansas Tech and start selling when I was a senior at Arkansas Tech, and then fast forward, buy the company that bought my family's company. So it's come full circle.
Wow, bringing it back home.
Yeah. So we have salespeople, and we manage real estate, like residential and commercial. We do that here, all around here locally, Searcy, Beebe, Heber, Springs. We're in a few places.
Awesome. And Co-Create Innovation Hub is what we're here to kind of talk about today, as well as some other things. But one more title I'll throw out there. You're the uncle of my childhood best friend, Luke Scott. So shout out to Luke Scott. He's a great guy.
Yes.
But yes, the Co-Create Innovation Hub, just for everyone listening, it's this building in Russellville, that black building there y'all are painting, the old appliance store, Paradise Donuts. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what it sounds like. It is a place where you can come and build a business, right? Tell us a bit about that, sort of how the idea was born and what the idea really is.
Yeah, we were excited. We've wanted to create some space for entrepreneurs, business startups, business people, like where there can be a space where there's like-minded people that would collaborate and create together. And we've wanted to do it for a while. A city tried to do it in a space at one point with Arkansas Tech, and I think there's a lot of people that have wanted it, and a lot of people have seen the need for it. And for one reason or another, it just hasn't happened. And so my wife and I began to talk about this idea, and we're real estate people, so we love to renovate spaces. We don't build as much as we do renovate in our kind of life. We have people to build, and we found that we're pretty good at taking things and renovating, like keeping the good and bringing new into it. And so one day, just to be honest, like I'm praying about a space, and all of a sudden I start thinking about this, the building that when I was a kid, it was Paradise Donuts. So I'm like, I've never thought about that building. And I drive by, and I found out, I go to look at a little research on it. I'm like, wow, it's 14,000 feet. I never believed that was that big. And it wasn't for sale. My wife and I talk about it. We give the owners a number that we both feel like this is what's fair. They agree to it, and we close. And so that's kind of how it was birthed as far as the space goes. And now we're in the middle of renovating the inside. So we've tackled a lot of the outside, trying to make it look better. The inside's coming, so we've got a lot of space available. We can talk about that, whatever you want to.
Mm-hmm. Has the idea of like just the business evolved since you originally got the space? Have things changed, or did you kind of already know what it would be?
So we had a sense of, we wanted a place where people could come. We've always just kind of said a great place for great people to do great work. So if we can create the space, I think the great people will be attracted into the space. And then great work will be the result of what happens. And so, we've designed, the design's kind of it's moved. But what we've got is we'll have 18 or 20 private offices that could be either individual or a team, 2 or 3, maybe 4 people in office. So you'd have the ability to rent a private office and have access to, kitchen, coffee, workspace, technology, shared conference rooms, Zoom rooms, podcast room will be in there. So you can schedule that if you are someone who is in the space. And then there'll be space for dedicated desks, so a little more economical way if you don't need the private office, but you want a great place to come in and be at work. So those will be available. And then daily, there's people that come in and work and just need space. But really, as much as the space, which it's going to be pretty cool, as much as the space, like you're coming into a community of people that are just pushing for the same thing you are, like to see these ideas get out and businesses thrive, and the things that impact our economy locally. The thing that really gripped me in the beginning is I would look at census numbers of people, like our population, and I would know how many we are graduating from, let's say, Arkansas Tech University, and I would watch, and we stay flat. And so I know we are sending really good creative people who have ideas somewhere. But ultimately, the numbers don't change, and so we're losing that talent, and we're losing that whole population of people. So I'm like, we got to keep that. Like, we have to create a pipeline, and I don't think it just starts, in the university. I think it gets younger and younger. So I'm excited to see how we can bring kids into the space. How we can bring junior high school, college, not just mid-40s or 50s and you want to start. I want that, but it's like we need to change that where the whole narrative over our region shifts, and why not here? Like, why would you not do that here? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, why would I do that here has been our past narrative, and that's changing, which I'm excited about. There's a lot of leaders in a lot of spaces right now that are amazing and doing really great stuff. I'm like, instead of saying, why would we do that here? It would be like, why not? Like, why would we not do that here? So I think we have a part to play. We're not all of it, but we have a part to play in it.
No, I love that. I absolutely love it. And I resonate with it so much. I think that you've heard of East Lab in high schools. Yeah. That for me was like this creative outlet, and it allowed me to kind of experience the entrepreneurial spirit for just a little bit in that class, because you could work on, as long as you're helping the community, that was the only sort of rule. You get to use all these STEM tools and go do something, figure out what it is. Perfect. And we were talking a minute ago about the ability to create. And since this is right in the name, the Co-Create Innovation Hub, I think this is going to be a really crucial topic. What are we talking about creating here? Like, just for maybe someone listening who they hear us saying these words, but they're trying to picture, okay, what can I build there?
Sure. So if you're an existing established company, it's like, perfect. You've learned some things. And so the co-part becomes like, how can we do something together? So, you're most beneficial, and I'm convinced you're most alive in your life whenever you're giving away, like who you are and what you've done. Like, you're never more alive than that. So you're never meant to keep it all. Like, you're meant to give it away. And so you've learned lessons that would help. I've never done podcasts, but you're like, hey, if you have a dream about that and you want to reach people or educate people or provide awesome content, you're going to be in a space with people that are willing to co-create with you. Like, I am willing to help. So that's part of the requirement. If you're going to be in the space, like, we have to have a collaboration. Like, there has to be this atmosphere that we create and we hold to that says, I'm not just here for me. Like, I want to see you succeed, because if you do, ultimately we do. And so that kind of goes back to the whole thing that kills creativity is when we compete or we compare ourselves with one another. Those things destroy creativity. Like, you lose originality, you lose the ability to just come up with solutions and dreams and thoughts, because all of your attention and your time is looking at somebody else. And I'm convinced you're original work of art, like you are, and you have something in you. And if we pull that out, then we'll figure out how together we can do something with it. So if you're a business and you're like, oh, that sounds great in theory, but I don't care what it is. If you're like, man, I've always had a dream to do accounting. Awesome. Like, let's get around some people that understand business and understand how to build a business. And, if you're out of this space in a year from now and you're thriving, awesome. If you've got a thought about how do we design, software that brings solutions to the medical field, I don't care. Great. Like, bring it in here. So, again, the idea is, how do we do this together? So it's not just someone who comes in brand new. You could be existing. And I think there's going to be benefit to being in that environment and in that community of people.
Well, have you always been someone that fostered this ability to create? Because we kind of talked about what limits that fear. You know, you're afraid of putting yourself out there. You're afraid of being vulnerable. You're afraid of not being as good as that guy over there. Did you always understand that, or was that a lesson learned?
Oh, it's definitely learned. I mean, I think, you know, your life's like onions. You know, you get peeled back a layer, and, you know, sometimes it's because it's adversity or loss or hard, and you figure out what's in you, and another layer gets peeled back and you learn something else. And business is like that. You know, sometimes it gets ripped off. Sometimes you peel it off like, oh, I want to grow, so I've got to get rid of that. And every layer, like there's just something new in it. So for me, that things like fear, ultimately, because that's what it is. If you're not willing to do it, whether it's competing, comparing, fear of failure, fear of lack, like fear of what other people think about you, or what are they going to think about this idea. I mean, every artist struggles with that. Everyone. So if you've ever written anything, hit publish on social media, whatever it is, there's a piece of you that feels like, I'm a little worried about what somebody's going to think. But if you can deal with the fear and learn, like, you actually have something, like you have something good, and you got some people encouraging you in that, like who you are and what you have to offer. And I don't think there's any limit to what happens at that point. But innovation shuts down, like creativity. I mean, your brain physically shuts down when worry, anxiety, fear come in. Chemicals go off, and you will not come up with ideas that you haven't thought of. You will repeat a cycle. And so fear will send you into this loop, like where you would default down, and you'll basically have a lid, so you can't get past that space until you deal with the fear. And when you deal with that, then all of a sudden, man, there's a lot of possibilities open up. And I mean, I think ultimately those are things that destroy poverty cycles, not just money, but ways of thinking. Like creativity has the ability to do that. It produces options where it's like, you know, you have a limit or a ceiling. You can't get past this. You're never going to get past this. Your family's always done this. You've always done this. And so there's this lid that gets put over you or this idea or this business. And if you can address that, you know, you'll actually, like, the lid comes off, and all of a sudden there's a whole world out here that, like, I never knew existed. And I think we get to partner personally. The other reason why it's co-creates, because I just think God designed creativity in you. Like, the story of creation was like, hey, let's bring you over here, Adam, and you help name these animals. Come on, like, let's do it together. And I think when you start drawing out of that, there's no telling what's going to come out.
Yeah, no, it's very powerful. You know, I've been sort of nurturing this idea in my head recently that building a business is one of the most spiritual pursuits one could go on, at least for me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's hard to explain too. It's hard to articulate and put into words, but
yeah,
it's almost my responsibility to do this for myself and for everyone around me, my family.
Yeah. And the thing that'll trip you up is if you can get right, this whole idea of originality, that you are made, like you're original, like there's a work of art in you, like there's a work in you that's original. And if you can be okay with that, then you can look around and see other works of art and be totally okay with all the other works of art, because you're not trying to be that work of art. Then you can actually look and be like, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. Like that, what's in them is beautiful. Like, I don't have that, but that's incredible. But if you're deficient of that or void of that, it's what I call operating like in the red. In business, you don't want to be in the red. You're operating at a deficit, like you will never get there. But when you learn more about who you are, like what you do isn't who you are. What you do comes out of who you are. So if all of, your life is based on what I do, well, then if I'm doing well, I'm doing good. And if I'm not doing well, then I'm doing bad. Like, I think better of myself when it's going well, or I'm successful, or how people view me. And that's just a trap. And all of them ultimately are driven by fear. So if you get rid of the fear, and you'll create something awesome too.
An easy trap to fall into.
Sure.
Even I'm kind of at a point where not necessarily every day, but often I have to ego check myself, make sure that I'm not falling into that trap again. Yeah. It's easy to fall into. And I think I've definitely experienced that when I first started a few years ago trying to build a business. I was in a very bad spot mentally. I just was in this loop of fear, I think. It's very much what it felt like, a repetitive cycle. And I I cultivated that negative energy, just complete hatred for my current situation to get out of it. And it didn't like that was good to get out of that situation, but ultimately I did have to start cultivating some other things.
Yeah.
Positivity.
Yeah.
And
you had a new thought. You got to get a new thought.
Yeah.
Like you've been hanging on to an old thought. You got to get a new thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And ultimately those things are what's really true. So you may not feel like it, but if you can grab a hold of it, like you'll come out of that cycle. And that's where, I don't think you ever do that alone. That's why community is important. So being around people, so like a co-create space, I think there is something that happens there. You know it. I know it. Like you've traveled to other towns. This is how you know it's true. You go into other places and you start thinking like I do this. I start thinking and dreaming. I'm like, oh man, nothing's impossible. And you go to other places like where you either drive through or stay and you're like, oh man, like something doesn't feel right. It's like heavy, it's like an atmosphere. Like it feels heavy. You don't even sleep good. Mm-hmm. It's like because there's a space that's been cultivated one way or the other. So again, our hope is let's create a space where, again, great people come in here, do great work together out of a great space.
I love it. I've found a lot of value, and I think you may have too, of these communities online. You can meet with so many great people, network with them. So that's where I first experienced that, this sort of network of people also trying to build something. And then after a certain while, I was like, why don't we have this here in Russellville? I think this community in particular, I've lived here my whole life, but I've only recently been like trying to be involved in it. I think there's a history of it not having that mindset of collaborating, and now it's changing. It's changing so fast because there's so many people. I don't know what changed. I don't know how we all ended up here, but we're here now. I'm awesome. It's awesome to have you a part of it. Like I'm really excited. A lot of people, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but a lot of people are very excited about what you're doing.
Like I agree. It's going to be big. Yeah, there's a lot of people pulling the same direction all over our city. And again, I'm the same way. Been here my whole life, and I've never been more hopeful, in all honesty, than I am right now. Like I've never been more hopeful for our area. And part of it probably is some selfish. I've got kids. Like some of them will probably be here and likely to be some of my grandkids. So I'm like, I want to leave a different narrative. I don't want them fighting the same fight. But if we can push this thing and create some momentum, then they're going to pick up and they're going to gain from some momentum that's being created right now.
Absolutely. I'm excited for, some of the ideas you've mentioned to me, and we've touched on a few of them here, but workshops, this being not just a place a business or a business owner can come, but also kind of like an educational hub, right?
Yep, that's right. So we've got space. Absolutely. We've got space that it's going to have some, great technology. So one of the things we've lacked in the community, I feel like, is a space where you could gather, have education or presentation or somewhere that's just quality if you wanted to bring your team together and meet. So you would have the option, even if you weren't leasing office space or desk space, like you can pay per hour at a reasonable number and have a space that you can host whatever you want. Now we're going to host workshops. So, it's wide open. Like if it's going to have to do with the vein that we're in, creativity, solutions, I think there's lots of things even in the art world that are inspiring. And so how do we bring artists in and even musicians in, or people dreaming about podcasts or starting businesses, or so if you're involved with anything that's in that creative vein, I think sometimes we separate and segregate that stuff. Like, I'm in the business world, so I'm not really art, or I only think of art as one thing like painting. And it's like, no, there's so many forms and shades of it. And again, if we can get those people in some rooms together, so we'll have space to do that. It's going to be pretty awesome, big technology in the room. And the space is really cool. Like it was originally the Ford dealership. So in 1926, it was the first Ford dealership in Russellville. So it has in its roots kind of this whole entrepreneurial, thing that they're bringing industry, bringing something to the city. And we've discovered some really cool parts that we're trying to preserve, in the building and keep. So it won't just be, hey, here's the physical hardware, but it's it's a pretty sweet space.
It is. And even has, y'all are keeping somewhere up outside the building, it says Ford as well.
Yeah. So it's got a capstone on the front, just leaving that. If you drive by, you'll see it. It says, I think 1926 at Ford on it. Pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. Because if you haven't experienced this yet, for whoever's listening, when you're around people that are pursuing this pursuit of creativity and building, it brings out the best in you. Like it's until you've experienced it, you can't really describe it. Once you know it, it's very powerful. Yeah. So, wow. What can people do right now to stay in tune with the journey? How do they stay up to date?
Sure.
And then we can also talk about maybe a rough date of when people can start experiencing this.
So right now, social media is probably the easiest thing, just as we keep dropping updates. So Co-Create Innovation Hub, if you look it up, it's going to be their website stuff is, things we're working on that you'll be able to go ahead. So if you wanted a pre-lease space, so again, imagine, a room set up with a desk, chair, lockability. So, the whole thing will be run where you can schedule. There's like 3 small conference rooms. One will hold like 4 to 6. Another one will hold like 6 to 8. So if you wanted to bring them in, you have the ability to utilize that space. And then there's a large conference room to book, like if there's a larger event that you want to hold or host. All of that will be online. So we're working on all those systems. Like printer will be in place so that, you have access to it. Coffee, we're in the middle of discovering, what that looks like for good coffee, because good work needs good coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that, that'll be in there. So yeah, if you'll follow along, we're looking, I'm sure we're probably midsummer is my goal. I would love us to be done by August, mid-July would be great, but if you've ever been in construction, I don't know if you ever saw The Money Pit was the best movie about construction, because every time they ask the contractors how long, they'd say 2 weeks. And that's usually how it goes. You think I'll be done July 1? Like, how are we doing? Probably 2 weeks. So I'm optimistic that at least by August, we'll have that open. So again, if you wanted a pre-lease space, because we do have a lot of people asking for the offices already, we'll soon have the ability to be able to do that. All of it will be online. You'll be able to access the building on your own, just with technology. So you can go in and out. Your office is locked
24/7.
24/7. Like you will have the ability to go in. We'll separate part of the building, but your pass, like your access on your phone, will get you in and out whenever you need. And there's security. Like we'll have cameras, the whole thing, so it should feel safe. But yeah, I don't know. Mid-July is my goal.
Excellent. Well, everyone go look at Co-Create Innovation Hub on Facebook. Follow them there. And, as things progress, that's where we'll figure out more.
That's right. It's exciting. You're learning, I'm learning. Yeah. It's been a journey like anything. But everybody that we've talked to that has done these type spaces, like you described, they have the same heart. Like they want to see awesome things happen. And everyone's been super willing to give us all the help we can get. And we're like, man, that's perfect, because that's how we are and that's how we want this to go. So
it's meant to be then.
There you go.
It's meant to be. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Hey, Chris, before we go, is there anything you want to add?
No, man. Thanks for what you're doing. Like, I appreciate you pushing like stuff forward from a positive standpoint. There's enough negative. So anything we can do that's pushing positive, narrative for us. I mean, I don't ignore problems. They exist. It's just I've never solved a problem by just paying attention and talking about the problem. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, man. I think there's other, like you said, don't ignore the problems, but there's other even platforms for this.
Yep.
The news, that's what they do. I'll leave the negativity to them. They've got the systems for it. But anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. Follow Co-Create Innovation Hub on Facebook, and we'll see you next week.